Hi there. Welcome to another episode of Clark's Pacific Adventures. This is a recap video of our experience aboard the Norwegian Bliss. Some folks refer to it as the NCL or Norwegian Cruise Line Bliss. Wanted to tell you what our experiences were, both good and bad, so that you can make an informed decision if you would like to spend a vacation aboard the Norwegian Bliss. The quick answer is yes, absolutely. It was a wonderful ship. there were We're going to have a top 10 list at the end of the video, and then we're going to have a list of the not so favorite things that we experienced while we were aboard, and maybe by letting informing you that you can avoid some of these and have a better cruise experience or aboard any cruise ship. First and foremost, would like to give a shout out to several of the crew members, which the crew and the staff of the Norwegian Bliss, I think, are second to none. I've worked in large organizations all my career, and clearly this is one of the finest, well-run, well-managed organizations anywhere. Everyone did their job superbly with enthusiasm, very motivated, and I can't brag enough. I think very much so a shout out to Jack and to Boynard, and I think those two individuals will remain hopefully in my life for the rest of my life. They are dear people, and enjoyed very much meeting them and spending time with them and hearing about their life experiences and working aboard a cruise ship. Just really formed some lifelong bonds there. A couple other folks I'd like to give a shout out to, and pardon me for referring to my notes. Clarissa, Christopher, and Immaculate in the Manhattan room, and we'll get into that. And then Geely, Ying, and Jovel in the observation deck. These are key individuals that simply made this a trip of a lifetime. This was a family reunion of sorts. I have worked away from home for many years, and my mother presented the idea to go on a Alaska cruise with my sister and me as a way of family bonding and connecting. Haven't seen each other in quite a while, and we accepted. We thought, hey, that's going to be a great idea, and it was. So the three of us, we had three staterooms. My mom had an extended balcony room with a king size bed, I think. Then my sister had an interior room with a queen size bed. And since my sister chose my room, I had an interior room with two twin beds, and we'll get into that a little bit. I will say that on my channel, I've posted some long form videos and some shorts or short form videos on YouTube that give some very specific uh, tips. I think my largest viewed is a 30-second or a 40-second clip on how to use the ship shower. Well over 800 views on that for something I posted 3 or 4 days ago. So I invite you to subscribe to my channel and go and navigate around as this series on the Norwegian Bliss, but also some other things. I'll be planning a trip other parts of Asia later in the year, so look forward to sharing that with you as well. But let's get back to the Norwegian Bliss. So Norwegian Cruise Line, I think they operate 17 or 18 ships. Norwegian Bliss is one of their newest ships. It was ordered in 2014 and delivered to Norwegian in June of 2018. In rough order of magnitude, it's about a 2-year-old ship, though, because remember, this is October of 2022, and there was about a 2-year period of time or a year and a half that it didn't operate. Now that we're coming out of all that and things are operational on this cruise, in rough numbers, the Norwegian Bliss will hold about 5,000 passengers with about 2,000 crew. And on our voyage, I believe we had between 20 and 2,300 passengers, depending on who you asked. And the crew was a full complement, so roughly between 1,700 and 2,000 crew members. Again, no matter wherever you read or who you listen to. So it was about a 1-to-1 crew to passenger ratio, which was absolutely fantastic. We never waited in line for anything other than the guest services desk. But other than that, restaurants, we got right in. We saw two different plays. We'll get into the quality of those a little bit later. That was open seating. We got there a little bit early, about 20 minutes early, and got phenomenal seats. It was absolutely incredible. Again, I'd invite you to look at my touring videos where I walk through the ship and go through different areas, and you'll get to see that secondhand there. So it's a new ship. Just a little trivia that when it was delivered, and the maiden voyage for Norwegian was New York to Seattle, so that they could start their cruises out of Seattle. In 2018, it was the largest cruise ship to transit the Panama Canal. So that gives you some kind of scale on how large the ship is. It is huge. Something on the largeness of the ship. It doesn't feel large though. Having been in the service, in the Marine Corps, and ridden several Navy ships, been aboard several Navy ships. Uh, if you're at sea, you know the ships get small the longer you're at sea, and as you learn the ship, it gets smaller and smaller. It's like a floating city. This is no different. I will say technologically, with the touchscreen maps, uh, you're never lost. You always know where you are. The One other bit of trivia is the fish in the carpet always swim toward the bow or the front of the ship, so it helps you get oriented. And then there are plenty of maps and touchscreens everywhere. The signage is excellent, and the crew is always there, from the room stewards, butlers, to folks in the hall that you see, and they are all very friendly. And if you have a question, and I never asked a question that they didn't know the answer to, so it was just absolutely superb. The other item is the cleanliness. There are hand washing stations at the entrance to the main cafeteria or eating establishment, the Garden Cafe, and the observation deck, where a lot of people spend a lot of time. So there are big hand washing stations. There are folks there to encourage that. And the cleanliness of the ship, a couple of tours that I did that I posted were at 3:34 a.m. You would see folks on their hands and knees with flashlights cleaning things. You would see inspectors with, I call it the white glove treatment, although they use a rag, but inspecting areas that no one would see for cleanliness. The standard is absolutely immense, and I noticed that when I got back at the hotel that we were staying in here in Seattle, those standards aren't as high as a cruise ship. So you really get spoiled on the Norwegian Bliss with the cleanliness and the hygiene that exists on the ship, and the dedication of the staff. The standards are absolutely world class. So let's talk about pre-arrival, parking, embarkation on the ship, and then we'll go in order of the cruise and what we saw and what we experienced. And again, this is going to be a fairly long video, but I think if you're going to make a financial and time commitment for a cruise, I think this will be well worth your time. So arriving in Seattle, I drove here from my home and picked up my sister and my mother at the Seattle airport. And we stayed at the Hampton Inn and Suites at the airport on 28th Avenue there in SeaTac. SeaTac's a city that's right by the Seattle Tacoma airport. Excellent. They do run a shuttle for the cruise ship, runs a shuttle from the Hampton Inn and Suites at SeaTac to the cruise ship. I think they run them every half hour or so. Since I drove in, I drove us there, and we did off pier parking. I worked up till the day before departing, so I went on and what I thought was getting valet parking was simply off-site parking, which was fine. It was $25 a day, and I think pier parking is about $22 a day, so not a big change. Got the shuttle, dropped my mother and my sister off at the ship with the luggage, and then went and parked the car. And it was about a 10-minute drive away. Took the shuttle back, reconnected with them. The embarkation process, so there's plenty of staff, but it was unclear of what you needed. And that's one of the first, criticism's a strong word, but something to look out for. So when you sign up for the cruise and you get confirmed and you go do the pre-boarding online things to check in, you receive a lot of emails from Norwegian, and that was and a lot of, and look, they're a business. The ship costs over $1 billion, so they're trying to recoup their investment. Certainly understand that. However, the registration paperwork did get buried, at least for me. I don't manage my emails very well. So as we were going through to get on the ship, it wasn't real clear what paperwork we needed. As it turns out, we needed our passport and our vaccination status cards, or our vaccines. And that was it. Now the queue to get on was a little bit long. You pre-select your times, and we were a little bit late for that. I didn't anticipate that the off-site parking was going to take. So we're 20 minutes late, but no one checks that, and I think it's just a way to help meter the flow onto the ship on arrival day. So passport, you did need the registration email, so we're searching through that, and the vaccine status. I will say that another item is the photographer, who we didn't know was not part of the crew really, directed us in this other line. Well, it was to take our photograph. And, we have luggage. We're kind of haggard a little bit, and we don't really want to be photographed then. And then we lost our place in line for about 20 people. So that was a little bit of a hassle that we really didn't need or want. So that was interesting. So on the next trip through, I'll simply decline that and stay in line to get on board. I took my picture with my office camera, video camera, which was sufficient. My sister and my mother had to retake their photo. The reason why that's important is, as you establish your bona fides to get on the ship through your passport, that your citizenship, and a good facial recognition photograph, is when you get on and off the ship at ports of call, they simply use your room card and your facial recognition. So it's important to have a good photo. If you don't have a good photo, they'll take one for you. And that's very important. And we'll get into the ports of call and what that entails as we go through the video. But that picture is very important. The lady at the check-in did say that there had been some occurrences of car break-ins at the pier parking, that it was a good thing we were parking off property. I don't have any statistics on that, but anecdotally it made me feel better. And then when we returned, the car was fine, and the shuttle to get there was fine. It picked us up within 2 or 3 minutes, so it was easy. So the parking experience. Now we're on the ship. So pro tip number 1 here is, you are separated from your bags, and you cannot get into your room for about 2 to 3 hours. So we went to the pool deck, had a couple of cocktails, and had lunch, and it was fine. But if you are planning to swim or take a hot tub or do some kind of activity, work out, I'm not sure if the gym was open at that time, but if you need something like medication, you want to keep that with you, either in a backpack or a purse or something, because you can't get to your room, can't get to your bags for about a 2 to 3 hour period of time. Not a major deal, but something that I wish, I guess it was just something that I was not expecting. So this, again, we dealt with it, had lunch, had a couple of drinks, and it worked out fine. Okay, so now we're on board, and the first day, I will say that the 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 Norwegian cruise line is known for their freestyle dailies. So it's almost like a newsletter every day of what's going on. I read so much at work, and my sister happens to be an extreme planner. So I didn't do any reading. I just listened to my sister and find out what's going on. And really the purpose of our trip was, at least for me, was to spend time with my mom and my sister, um, and not necessarily the activities or the spa treatments, that kind of thing. So, but the freestyle daily, and in speaking with other passengers who had been on other cruise lines, like Holland America, they didn't like this freestyle. And what freestyle means is you're on your own schedule, which I liked. On other cruise lines, I guess there are set times for meals, things like that. And Norwegian, again, it's more you follow your own schedule, which I liked. A typical day for me was to get up early. I stayed on my work sleep schedule, so I'm up at 4 a.m. every morning, and I would walk around the ship, try to get some steps in for burn some calories. I did work out in the gym one time. Typically in the week, I work out 5 days a week, but on the ship, the gym was very good. It had plenty of treadmills and ellipticals, had a good dumbbell selection, and they did have a Smith machine with as much weight as I wanted to lift. I think they had probably, I don't know, 350 pounds or so. So with the Smith machine, they had a nice bench. So you could do bench, you could do military presses, you could do squats. They had leg extension machines. Their hamstring machine, the leg curl machine, was a little bit complex for me. There were a couple of us in there. We couldn't get it really figured out. So we switched to the cable machine, and the cable machine was fine. So that was good. They do have a cycling room if you're that Peloton type cycling. I assume they teach classes or hold sessions. Again, I only got one workout in, but that was good. In my view, I was there to spend time with my family, and so the normal time that I would work out, I simply was having coffee with my mom and my sister on the observation deck. I do have a video on the observation deck that will be posted here on the channel, and that is really where we spent 70 or 80% of our time. It's like your den, and you're looking out over the scenery, the ever-changing scenery. We saw whales there. That's where we viewed the glacier, and we'll get into all those things. But let's talk about expectations of a cruise. So I talked to a couple of passengers and was trying to get a feel for, had they been cruising before or not. And some very interesting perspectives. One family that I was talking to, they weren't impressed with the ports of call that we made, and we'll get into that. But let me try to set some expectations here. In my view, this is my opinion for me. A cruise is not about going to Victoria or going to Juneau or Icy Strait. You do go, or Ketchikan. You do go to those places, but it's not a full bore tour. Um, I've never been on one of those European river cruises, but I think those kind of cruises, they stay in a city for a long extended period of time, maybe a day or two, and you really get to know that city. Here, you're only in port for, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 hours, not that long. I did get an opportunity to walk around, and we'll get into those ports of call, but it's not about that. Or the folks that did the whale excursions. We saw more whales from the observation deck than they saw from the whale, the excursion boats that they went out on. So again, if you want to go whale watching, go travel to go do whale watching, because you got to, anything with wildlife, you have to go for long periods of time in order to get those cumulative experiences of those really good shots. So I think tempering the expectations is important. Always the subject of food comes up. And so I'd like to address that now. I thought the food selection was excellent. It was varied. One of the things that I did appreciate are the portion sizes. So in the fine dining restaurants that were included in the package, I thought was 5 star. It was comparable to some of the finest restaurants you were eating. For me, again, that's my opinion. And the portion sizes were not too big, with the exception of the prime rib. The prime rib was huge, but again, it typically they were not large. The desserts were not large. You do have to watch your calorie intake, though. I mean, you can gain a lot of weight on a cruise, and that's a good thing for folks. I mean, if that's the way you relax, that's fine. There are opportunities to again walk, get the steps in, use the stairs instead of the elevator. We were on the 8th floor. The observation deck was on the 15th floor or the 15th deck, and so that was a nice stair climb several times a day. There is the 16th deck is where the garden cafe is. We ate breakfast there. That's a good source of protein with the eggs and the different meats that they had there. They have omelets. They have an omelet station. One thing that we missed until the very last day is if you go in there, I highly recommend you walk the farther forward as you can toward the bow, because then you end up above the observation deck. You've got the best view on the ship while you're eating your breakfast. We tended to kind of get about halfway in and find a table, and usually an interior table because it wasn't crowded. Again, we had about half the capacity for the passengers. I think if it were at full capacity, I would have a problem. I don't like crowds necessarily, and wasn't bad here. But if you packed in another 2,000 folks, that might be an issue. But did not have it on this trip. The food quality in the garden cafe was good. I wouldn't say great, but that's okay. If you think of you know, cafeteria has certain connotations to people, positive and negative. But the eggs were good. They had good fresh breads. They had good fresh fruit. So that, the bacon, the sausage, baked beans, those kind of things, you can get it. Although they didn't have rice. I like rice with over easy eggs. They will do the over easy eggs at the omelet station. So that's something that I appreciate. Again, the staff is very accommodating. For the most part, if you want it, you ask them, and probably somebody's going to get it for you. I did buy the drink package. That was pretty pricey. Um, Probably should not have done that. I should have just bought a la carte. I didn't drink that much. Maybe had one or two drinks a day. The drink package wasn't worth it. Maybe 3 drinks at the most. So the drink package was not worth it for me. I did buy the most Cadillac internet streaming Wi-Fi package on the ship, and when we get down to the misses for the cruise, that was one of them. So the streaming was just okay, and I think we as a society have become spoiled on high speed internet. And so I was able to watch CNBC in the morning, get the financial channels, get the news channels. That streamed for the most part. There was one evening when we were at sea where it seemed like the internet was down, and then I was able to call family back home. My sister and my mother did not upgrade to the streaming package. They didn't need it. They used my phone to call. However, they did leave their phone on in roaming mode, and so that's a kind of pro tip number two, that just be cognizant of the roaming charges. Can get quite pricey. I think in the internet cafe, the manager will help you do the settings on your phone to avoid those charges. Again, my sister happens to be on a budget plan. I think she normally pays about $15 a month, and she checked her bill, and she was up to $200, I think, or $180. So significant significant difference. So pay attention to your roaming charges and your phone plan if that's a concern. So she simply just went on airplane mode, and if you go on airplane mode, I think that solves all that. But again, ask an expert. I'm certainly not an expert on cellular devices. Let's talk about let's see. So that's day one where we are heading and going to sea day. So we had a sea day. For those who hadn't been at sea, um, it's interesting. I love being at sea, especially the sunsets. It's a nice time. I thought we were going to do the inside passage between Vancouver Island, but no, we go on the outside. We go on the west side of Vancouver Island, so we're truly at sea. So you get to see the sunset over the Pacific Ocean, which is a real highlight of my life. It's just gorgeous. The day at sea is just a time to relax. So uh, it's on the Norwegian cruise line. So let's talk top decks on down. There's a go-kart racing track. There's a 10,000 square foot laser tag. There are water slides. I did see people even in this weather go on the water slides. So if you have children or you like those activities, that's pretty interesting to do that on a cruise ship. We did not do those activities, but they're certainly available. Then you come down, and I think it's on the 16th deck is the main area, and I did a video on that where there's this huge jumbotron, a couple of bars, um, and pools and hot tubs. That's the main area, and they set up chaise lounges for on Sunday. That was our at sea day, and they had NFL football games on the jumbotron. So that was a fantastic environment. And then going further aft toward the back of the ship is the adults only area where there's some hot tubs, bar, and spent some time there. Had a drink at sunset there, and that's nice. It's loud though, as you can imagine for an adults only. They've got the music turned up, and the folks are partying, and so that's fantastic. Again, I was here on the ship for a family reunion of sorts with my mom and my sister. So didn't happen to be my scene, but that's okay. That is there and available. When you're at sea, the casino opens. So my mother likes the slot machines, so I think she gave the cruise ship a little bit of money while she spent some time there. The again, the casino's nice, and that's one of those things that my mother said, "Oh, the casino's not always open." So again, expectations on a cruise ship. You don't go for a destination, or you don't go to necessarily gamble for long periods of time. Um, so those expectations meeting is something interesting to calibrate for what's going on. But it's all a lot of folks gambling. Look like they're having a good time. The Thought I was going to go to the cigar lounge. Never made it up there. I like cigars. I smoke, I don't know, 2 or 3 a year, so I don't like them that much. But never made it there. There was a lot on the ship that we just didn't get around to because we were just having an absolute wonderful time in that observation deck, watching the world go by and catching up on 20 and 30 years. It had been a year since I'd seen my mom and my sister, so we had a lot to catch up on. We do talk on the phone, we talk on video a couple times a week, so we are in touch. But there is no substitution for that face-to-face contact. Let's get into the room. So there are hair dryers in each room. I assume for fire reasons there are no irons. There's not an iron in the room. So they do have laundry and valet service. So I did have a suit and some dress shirts on board, and just wanted to kind of give you an idea. They have a regular service and an express service. So for a dress shirt, if you want it pressed only, that's $5. You add another 50% if you want express. So you drop off at 9 a.m., you'll get it by 6 p.m. that day for express. The regular service, you get it in by 9, you get it the next day by 6 p.m. But they'll get it to you sooner, I do believe. So just to give you an idea, a skirt is $5 for press only. If you need it laundered, that's $9. A dress is $12 to dry clean, $5 to press only. And let's get down here. A suit is $20 to dry clean, or $7 for press only. Let's see, what else would someone press? A sport coat is $12. A ladies' jacket's $12 to dry clean. Press is $6 each. So that kind of gives you an idea. Not exorbitant. I guess the laundry is on the top. So a pair of jeans costs you $8 if you need them washed, or if you just need them pressed, $4. Pajamas, $8. Again, just to press them is $5. So that kind of gives you an idea. I did not feel that I was nickeled and dimed on that. The other part, the only part that was a little bit different again were the photographers. Pardon me. The photographers did try to press the package and save the tax and all that kind of stuff. And that was the only pressure I felt. We did look at some jewelry and some watches on board. The prices I thought were okay, weren't great, but and they did have some nice jewelry aboard. No pressure at all. It was absolutely, they were happy to show you anything, tell you about the jewelry, no pressure to buy. I thought that was excellent. And my mother enjoyed that quite a bit. So no iron, but you do have laundry service. You got the hair dryer in the room for those wondering that. Beds were very comfortable. The cleanliness, the room steward, the butler comes several times a day. So you had either a make the room up or a do not disturb. So if you hit make the room up, that's when you get towel replacements. I'm not sure how often they change the sheets. I would think they would change the sheets if you do make the room. If you select nothing, they simply tidy up. I do think they run the vacuum quite a bit, and the bathroom is always immaculate. And if you hit the do not disturb, they don't do anything. They leave you alone. So those are buttons that you hit in the room. The lights were excellent. You had overhead lighting, you had lighting over the desk if you had some work to do, and then you had ambient lighting above each bed, and then a reading light above the bed. And you could turn off the overhead light from the bed. So the lighting in the room, the storage could be a challenge. My mother did overpack, so that can be an issue. I did fine. Probably the biggest thing is, we didn't know. You can look at the weather for Alaska. It's in October where we went, it was not that cold and not that rainy. So I think a decent raincoat and a couple of layers should be fine. We did bring hiking boots type, which I thought was good. I did walk on a rocky beach in Icy Strait, so tennis shoes would not have been good enough for that. So the hiking boots did come in handy, but not you don't have to have them. So jeans and a sweatshirt and a light jacket with a raincoat, you'll be fine. Hat for me since I'm bald. So that as far as dressing warm, and probably gloves if your hands do get cold. But it's not, we're not up at the Arctic Circle or anything, so you didn't need to bring all that and think we're going to go out on the frozen tundra. And you're really not in town that long. So let's talk about the itinerary. So day one, we're at sea. Day two, I guess it's day three when we make it to Juneau. So you're at sea a day and a night, and we make landfall and port in Juneau, which is interesting. We did do the tram in Juneau, so it was a nice tram up to the top observation deck. Had a nice, I think they had a pub up there and a restaurant you could eat some drinks. So the gift shop was good. We got some some good gifts. There is a scenic overlook. One of the misses or the not so favorites for my sister, who tends to be an extreme planner, the tram ride back down, of course, toward the end of the day, it gets crowded. Well, I don't like to stand in line, so I just went to the observation deck, and they're not going to leave you up there. So I got some good footage from the observation deck. Again, hopefully you'll check out the channel, Clark's Pacific Adventures, and look at some of those videos of really some good sunset shots there. And when the gentleman came around and said, okay, last call, we're taking everybody down, no line, just jumped on the last tram down, and no fuss, no muss. So there are ways to manage around that. But Juneau, I did walk on their boardwalk there at the port. It was nice. Got some good shots there, and then went down and got some Filipino barbecue. They had kind of a street food vendor type thing, and some good vendor. There were a lot of jewelry shops, I think some souvenir shops, and then there was a big crab restaurant for the big crabs that they have in Alaska. There was a large line there, but for the most part, the food on the ship is just incredible. So didn't do a lot of eating on shore. So walked back and got back on the ship. Then we left. You do most of your steaming. That's not a term anymore, I guess. Transiting at night. So we got back on from Juneau, and then I think we were originally scheduled for Skagit or something like that. Sitka, I can't recall. We had a change in itinerary and went to Icy Strait. Icy Strait Point, where my mother did the zip. My mother and I did the zip line. So unfortunately, I only have an 18-second clip because I had a gorilla grip on the phone. I did not want to drop the phone, but I will post that. And my mother did fine. The zip line, I believe, is one of the highest around in the United States. And it sounds like when you're at the end, the hardware on top, there's a loud clank as the spring absorbs the energy. But it was not. She's fine. She does have some mobility and back issues, and she had no ill effects. She wanted to do it. It was on her bucket list to do a zip line, and this was a great experience. So I invite you to check that out and look at some photographs of that as well. I will say I do have a criticism of the zip line company, though. So let's talk about Icy Strait, then I'll get to the as a port of call, and then I'll get to the zipline company criticism. So there are two trams. You get off the ship, and there are two trams. There's a red one that goes way up high, and that's worth it. That you do have to pay for that one, but that's how you get to the zip line. But even if you're not going to do the zip line, I encourage you to take that red tram. The ride itself is nice, and then there are several good scenic overlooks up there and some wildlife. Saw some caribou out there. Got some video of that. There's the green one that kind of takes you to another gift shop. There's a pub over there. There's a park with a orca whale sculpture that's beautiful. And I believe further down, which I did not go to, looked like an old cannery. And that one's free. That smaller tram is free. I think you can walk that, but again, there are bears around. There's signs about that. So I don't know. I'm sure you'd be fine to walk it and do your bear protocol. But I'm on a cruise. I'm on vacation. I'm being lazy. I take the tram. And that was nice. I spent some time on the beach there, got some good video footage of what a beach in Alaska is like. And there are a couple of houses there and what their view is. So I invite you to check those out. So Icy Strait is kind of low key, but it's nice. And the zip line was a lot of fun. Now let me get to the company. So I did the zip line. Mom and my sister got back on the ship and went back up to, I was going to ride again or at least interview them for the operation. And there were 5 people who had already paid. One was a crew member who had already paid to go, and so it got to be 3:30 and normally they're right on time and they take you down to where the zip line staging area is, and no one was there. So one of the ladies who had prepaid went back down on the tram and came back and said they have closed. So, with the passengers, look, you go on, if you use a credit card, you dispute the charge and you get that reversed. The crew member who happened not to be from our country didn't understand the visa and the dispute, because a lot of places in the world there is no disputing a charge. So she thought she just got ripped off. Although if they go back there this week, maybe she can go get a credit. But my mom and I took care of her. We gave her a full cash refund for her, because those folks on the cruise ship work hard, and that was a big expense. I think it was about $150. So that's a lot of money, and we wanted her to be made whole there, and so we did that for her. So we stepped up for the zip line company, and hopefully she gets to do the zip line and doesn't pay for it. So that's our treat, and we were happy to do that. So that's Icy Strait. Wanted to talk about getting on and off the ship. You do coming off, you show your room card, and I think a picture ID, but I don't really remember. So I always carry my passport with me when I travel. So the passport and your room card, that's going to get you anywhere. Coming back on, you show the room key at a preliminary checkpoint, and then you get on and they do the facial recognition, and through facial recognition then you go through security, you go through a magnetometer, and then they x-ray your bags, make sure you're not carrying any contraband on. Again, it was easy, everybody's friendly, and the queue was not that long, so it was painless. Pro tip I had to give my sister was, do not handle items on the gangways, because if you drop them, although they did have a net, so don't be putting your ID and your room card away while you're walking from the ship to the dock. Hold all that stuff, get off the gangway, do all your manipulation there. Don't handle things on the gangway, because you will lose them, especially back in the day when you're coming back from Liberty and maybe you've had a cocktail or two or more. You definitely don't want to be messing around on the gangway getting back on the ship. But everything was fine. They did have, for my mother, they did have an Icy Strait, a large golf cart, basically, because it was kind of a hike, I don't know, a quarter of a mile or something. So there were accommodations for those with mobility issues, or just tired and wanted to ride. So that was good. Again, it was an opportunity to get some steps in. So that was Icy Strait. So that's day 4. Now, this for me was the highlight of the trip. So Glacier Bay, they did have a pilot to navigate the local waters on board, and a couple of park rangers from the national park on board that gave a presentation there in the observation deck. Got a couple of videos on Glacier Bay. That is amazing. The weather wasn't terrific, but that's okay. It's scenery that I've never seen anything like it in my life, and it was absolutely beautiful, gorgeous, amazing. I don't know what other descriptors to use. Absolutely beautiful to sail by an iceberg. I think not many cruise lines, maybe there's several that get into Glacier Bay. And then we simply slowly turned the ship several times. So no matter what part of the ship you were on, you got great views. Bald eagles riding on the ice, the small icebergs, seeing the ice flow break off the bay. Unfortunately, didn't get video of that, but did get to see that. Did not see any polar bears. Saw a couple of whales there, but just the magnitude, the hugeness of Glacier Bay and the scenery it was amazing, and it was beautiful. And so I think we spent about an hour and a half just in that small bay, just the ship just slowly turning away around and around. And again, you don't feel that at all. It's just the scenery is slowly changing. They use the bow thrusters to to slowly manipulate the ship there. So that was a real highlight of the trip. And it was very, very calm in there. So that gets us Glacier Bay. That's incredible. That was really absolutely gorgeous. And then we go to Ketchikan. So we sail overnight to Ketchikan. And I think we're in Ketchikan for 2 or 3 hours. That was not a very long port of call. Okay, Ketchikan, let's talk about that. I actually made a highlight for my mom on her top 10 list, so we'll get into it. So Ketchikan, you get off into this old lumber yard. They've redone this building. So you get off the ship, walk a short way, and there's a huge gift shop there, and you pass through the gift shop like any great marketing folks to get to the bus to go to town. So the advice I would give you there is, if go to town and look for souvenirs and things like that, yeah, kind of browse around, see what's there, but you don't want to carry all that gear into town and lug that around and then think, oh, I got a better deal. So for instance, an Alaska jacket that my mother bought as a souvenir was $30 at that place when you got off the ship. At the souvenir shop in Ketchikan, it was $10 cheaper. So getting from that kind of gift shop area right off the ship in that old lumber yard there at the port, and they're revitalizing that port. So I'm not sure. We were the only ship there, so we took an old school bus. They had some nicer buses, but we happened to be on the old school bus. And if you can imagine what an old school bus in Alaska rides like, you would be accurate. So the windows didn't close all the way, so we get some rain. It was kind of overcast and foggy in Ketchikan, which is what you expect. Did see a couple of eagles, a couple of bald eagles. That was cool, and the drivers were fantastic. So we get to Ketchikan. I will be posting a video of a 360 on there. It's jewelry shops and souvenir shops. The top 10 that it made my mother is that was the best souvenir shop on the trip was in Ketchikan, and it was nice. So you get off at the pier there where the bus stop is basically, and it's right to, if you're facing the water, it's right to the left there, and it was nice. They had great prices and a good variety there. But the time, we really only had about an hour and a half there. We did walk around the marina, looked at the city map, looked at some of the placards, and saw some of the history. I believe it was the largest salmon cannery in the country for a long time. Ketchikan's been there a long time. I want to say it's one of the oldest uh, incorporated cities in Alaska. I'm not sure about that, but Ketchikan was okay. It was nice, but it's Alaska, small city. The architecture was nice to look at. Some beautiful homes there. So we get back on the bus to go. Again, my mother with mobility issues, they didn't have the stool there, and the step onto the bus was too much. So asked the driver, "Hey, can you get the step stool?" Which she obliged. Um, and then we got on. That bus was nicer, and that driver narrated. She had a headset and narrated her story of what brought her to Ketchikan. So that made the ride. It was about a 20-minute ride. Nice. So Ketchikan, just kind of temper your expectations there. Got to see some nice boats, and there's a big airport in Ketchikan. So the taxiway to the airport was interesting to see. It was kind of a lower level. Never seen it where you taxi lower than where the runway is. So that was interesting to see. So that was Ketchikan. That's day 6. So now we're heading back. So the last port was Victoria. I want to say we got there at about 7 p.m., 7:30 p.m. By the time you could go to town, and then I think all aboard was about 10 p.m. So it was going to be a quick tour. We did not disembark in Victoria. Just we were just having such a good time on the ship, and didn't want to be rushed really. I had been to Victoria and would want my mom and my sister. We can go to Victoria for for a trip, and it is a lovely city. And there's having high tea at the Empress in Victoria is one of the highlights of my life. It's certainly a very special experience, so I highly recommend that. But did not go to Victoria, didn't get off the ship, and it was late, and so then we sailed back to Seattle, and we make Seattle, I think, at about 9 a.m., something like that. And so, since we had visited an international port, the you got to clear customs and things like that, or the ship does, so that you basically, once you you hit the port in Seattle, it's about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. So we went up to the Garden Cafe, discovered the front of the Garden Cafe, which we wish we had discovered on day one, um, and had breakfast, and just sat and had coffee, and visited with uh, with Boynard and Jack, our new good friends, and just had a lovely time. I will say the staff, you'll start seeing the staff, and it seems like they have two jobs. They have a day job and then a night job. So so we happen to like the Taste restaurant, and the menus in the restaurants change every day. So it's like going to another restaurant. So the service was excellent. Jack and Boynard took good care of us. We would get a window seat, and I think that's on deck 6 or 7. So you're seeing the moon and the ocean. If you go early enough, it's just a beautiful window side seat of plowing through the Pacific Ocean. It's absolutely lovely. The food is good, and the service is absolutely second to none. So let's get in. I promised you a top 10 list. I think I'm going to try to make this less than an hour. So I'm at 52 minutes. So the top 10 list, crew and staff. These are hard working folks that are amazing, amazingly friendly, knowledgeable, very well trained, well managed, and they just do an exceptional job. That, to me, that made the trip, that made the experience. It was absolutely fantastic to see the ship layout and the ease. I did a video on the touch screen, so you're never lost. You always know where you are. You have an immediate orientation of where you are, and that the ship layout and ease was two for me. The changing scenery for me was excellent. Seeing new places, the food quality and the expectations of the food were superb. I ate well, and the portions were good, and I thought the food was excellent. Again, up on the Garden Cafe for breakfast, what all can you do for breakfast? I did not have the eggs Benedict or something more complex than that, so I don't know how those were, but plenty of fresh fruit, fresh vegetables, eggs, sausage, and fresh bread. The observation deck, absolutely stunning. That was, again, spent a large portion of the time there. Oh, I didn't bring up this. That was the Jersey Boys. So we saw two plays on board. We saw Six, which is a musical about King Edward's 6 wives. That was interesting. It was good. It was very, the songs were superb. It was excellent. The content, I wasn't too thrilled about it. It was okay. But I would give it, the singing, I'd give 5 stars out of 5. The play itself, I'd probably give 3.5 stars out of 5. Just wasn't my cup of tea. It's okay. The Jersey Boys, on the other hand, was absolutely superb. I give that 5 stars out of 5 stars. Not only the singing was superb, but the play itself was excellent. I'm not a big theater guy. Well, I've seen, I don't know, 10 or 12, 15 plays over my lifetime, from the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., in Seattle, some in New York. The Jersey Boys on the new Norwegian Bliss, I would put as one of the best performances I've seen anywhere. It was absolutely incredible. Um, The small theater was nice. The I have a hearing deficit in one of my ears, that I could hear everything clearly, the dialogue and the music. It was very well done, and I was so impressed with the actors. And you get to see them on board and talk to them. The day I did work out in the gym, I was working out with the lead there, and Jersey Boys didn't know it, but nice young man. Uh, just I can't brag enough about Jersey Boys. It was absolutely fantastic. I was on the way to dinner. I was talking with a gentleman who said that he had seen Jersey Boys on Broadway, and this was every bit as good as that. So that was really a highlight for me. For my mom, we'll just do the top three or four for her. Being with her children, that was the top, and that's also a top one for me. It goes without saying, but being able to spend time um, on the cruise ship in that environment is different than if you're at a destination and you want to go do things. Being on the cruise ship and just being able to sit and have coffee and talk for 2 or 3 hours at a time was wonderful. And that's time we'll never. Well, hopefully we'll do it again next year. But it was just a real special time. So that for a family reunion type environment, this was a family bonding type thing. Was a great environment to do that, and I highly recommend it. Again, for mom, the zip line was on her bucket list, and so that's clearly a highlight. And oddly enough, Ketchikan souvenir shopping was a highlight on her list because it had the best variety and the best prices. That was a great place, and she loved seeing the whales. She had not seen whales before, so that was absolutely fantastic, and she saw it all from the observation deck. Excuse me. Again, we didn't do any excursions. So we did do the zip line, did the gondola rides in Juneau and in um, Icy Strait, but we didn't do any whale watching or wildlife excursions. We just we didn't do them. So seeing the whales and then hearing people on the observation deck said, "Wow, we saw more whales here than on the excursion." I thought it was pretty interesting. For my list, my sister's top 10 list, the observation deck for her was number one, and it really is, from the staff to what you see and the comfortability of the furniture on there, the food, the availability, the coffee, the tea, the hot water. If you just want to drink hot lemon water, it's all there. And then they have just wonderful pastries and fresh fruit there as well. No protein, although they did have deli meats, I guess, but that gets a little too much salt for me. She liked the ease of getting on and off the ship at ports of call. So with the facial recognition, that was a highlight for her. So that was good, and the kindness of the staff. Again, Jack and Boynard specifically, just wonderful, truly wonderful people. She liked the Glacier Day, seeing the glacier again. That I can't say enough about that. That was absolutely incredible. And then she liked the big red gondola ride in Icy Strait was top. So let's we're not going to close on that, and I'm not going to close on a negative either. But let's talk about some opportunities or some misses that we thought already about the photographer. I didn't think they took particularly very good pictures. We didn't buy any. And I thought they were a little bit pushy. And then the one night that we did a dress up night, the photographer was at the staircase, and if you've seen the other videos, got a beautiful staircase on the Norwegian Bliss with a beautiful crystal looking chandelier. It's a gorgeous setting. And so we were on our way to dinner, and I said, "Hey, how long are you going to be here?" And I think this was about 7 p.m. And she said, "Oh, I'll be here till 10:30." So we finished dinner, I think around 9, and wanted to go get our picture taken, and she was already gone. So that lack of reliability for the photographers. I thought again that needs to be improved upon. The Wi-Fi connectivity, again, it was just okay. We're spoiled now. You can go into any Starbucks or the hi-fi or the Wi-Fi at home is so fast. So don't expect that that level of connectivity on board. The room locations, I haven't talked about that yet. I've talked about that in another video. So on the map, it appears that my mother, who had the balcony stateroom, that my sister and my room were across the hallway from her. But it wasn't. The back of our room was across, well, not even across, because you come out of her room and there are no, you can't get into our rooms because that's the back of our room. So when you look at it on the map, it looks like it's on the across the hall, but it wasn't. Then it was a crew only walkway. So literally, it was 15 steps to go through the crew only uh, area, which I did one time because I wanted to make sure I could, in the case that mom fell or something, that I would be able to get to her quickly, which I could. It was literally 15 steps. But the proper way, which we did all week, was to walk down our hallway all the way around, do a big U-turn, and then walk all the way down mom's hallway because we were toward the bow of the ship, and we did that on purpose. But so what we thought were across the hallway really wasn't. It was about a 300-yard walk. So not a big deal, not a huge deal. Again, I was happy to get the steps, but it was a different experience when you're thinking you're just going to be across the hall from one another. So I did do a video on that, and it has to do with how the doors are depicted on the map. So that's something that if you're doing multiple staterooms on a cruise, I invite you to watch because that'll help you. We already talked about the zip line company, and so we don't need to take that issue. So mobility issues. So again, my mom um, has some mobility issues, but it was actually my sister that fell while we were on board. So nothing major, and she's fine. But the large heavy doors, there can be a pressure differential. So she opened one of the doors, and when she didn't open it all the way, so she opened it and then got in, and the pressure differential, it basically closed the door on her, and she fell. Again, nothing major, didn't have to go to medical or anything like that, but some passengers helped her up. And just be careful with those heavy doors, especially when there is a pressure differential. So thank God mom didn't have any issues at all. But my sister did, and that was kind of a source of. But she's fine. The other one is there's just too many emails from Norwegian once you book it. It's just at least for me, I'm not a like I have 5,000 emails at work that are unread. I'm not good at managing my email, especially my personal email account, and it was too much. Again, it was hard to pick out the emails that you needed to read. So that was kind of weird. We already talked about the cell phone roaming charges. Um, and then the stress and the queue of getting on board originally. I thought that was it wasn't, the signage there wasn't real clear, and so that induced a little bit of stress, especially for my mother who does not travel very much. And so when you're unclear of what you need and what the process is, I thought that could have been explained a little bit better. So that was really what we considered the opportunities for improvements or some of the misses. Nothing major. Um, we absolutely want to go on the Norwegian Bliss again. Again, it's a sizable investment to take a family vacation on a cruise, and I highly recommend the Norwegian Bliss. There are nicer cruise lines, and then there are other tiered cruise lines as well. And I thought for us, the Norwegian Bliss had that nice kind of upper end feel to it. Again, the ship, the cleanliness and the maintenance of the ship were absolutely incredible, and then the crew and the staff. That's really what made the experience uh, so magnificent and wonderful. Were the people that we dealt with while we were on the cruise. It was absolutely, I just can't say enough. It made the trip a great trip. So that kind of closes it up. I hope it helps. I know this is a long video. I don't know of any other way to to make it shorter. That's kind of the soup to nuts on everything A to Z from our experience on the Norwegian Bliss. I give it 5 stars out of 5 stars. I think if you have the expectations uh, uh, set of what to expect, I think everybody will just absolutely have a fabulous time. I look forward to reading the comments below. I invite you to comment. I would like to have some dialogue with folks to hear their experiences, either on the Norwegian cruise line or on the Bliss, or on other cruise lines. This again, this was my first paid cruise. I've had Uncle Sam send me on a couple of cruises, but this was my first commercial cruise, and I'm very impressed. I've kind of avoided them my whole working life after I got out of the service, but I regret that. I wish I'd gone on a cruise, an Alaska cruise, much sooner, and it was very high quality, and it was good family time, family bonding time. So with that, I think I'll close it up. If you want to know other information, please comment. I'll answer all the comments, and then I perhaps may do a shorter video for the things that I'm sure that I forgot in this one. So a double thumbs up, and thanks for hanging in there this long, and thanks for your time. I am trying to build this channel and hopefully bring some good value. So Clark's Pacific Adventures, thanks for coming, and we'll see you on the next one. God bless you.